There it is.
Okay, I think we're going.
Okay, so this is the appointment subcommittee meeting for February 17th. It's 5:31. And on tonight's agenda, I know we have two mayoral appointments to discuss. One of them is for Teresa Maria Lorenko for the Agricultural Commission with an expiration of 12/31/18. And the second one is for Brian Dupuy for the Veterans Council with a term expiration of 12/31/17. So I wanted to open the floor to see if there was any discussion about either of the candidates.
My only question was where she answered no on, are you aware of the board's time commitment and are you available on its regular meeting day?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure why she put no, other than I'm not available of the time commitment if she's serving on the ECA. Is that...
Yeah, the impression I got, she was just appointed to the ECA, and so she's not aware of what ECA's time was. And I don't even know how often the Agricultural Commission meets. I have to listen to that as well.
Yeah, but she seems to have a good background that would fit into the Agricultural Commission.
And I see one of her ideas is to improve the farmers market, which unfortunately has had a really hard time getting going.
Yeah, she is listed as a member of the ECA Plus Grants Committee.
Okay.
And I know in her cover letter she had said, I'm not presently aware of the meeting times for the AC as stated on my application. I am free in the evenings. I cannot see the meeting times being in conflict with my schedule.
Okay.
So given that, I think it would be fine.
Okay.
And I did call her and leave a message asking for clarification on that as well. I just haven't heard back from her.
Okay.
But I thought it was... I'm not sure what a certificate of permaculture design actually is.
I just looked up permaculture. That's funny, we were just going that. And I can read you the definition. Permaculture is a system of agricultural and social design principles centered around simulating or directly utilizing the patterns and features observed in the natural ecosystems.
Okay. Well, I guess that would be a good fit for Agricultural Commission. So, well, does anyone have any further discussion on Teresa as a
Move that we move her appointment forward to City Council for full appointment.
Second.
Okay, hearing a second. What's the term that you use? Tell me again how you go from first to second to I'd like to call to a vote.
I say
Motion's been made and seconded.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
All those in
Okay,
favor?
all those in favor?
Aye. Against?
Against, abstain.
Yeah.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay.
And the second candidate we have for tonight is Brian Dupuy. And my concern with his application was that there was no, very little detail other than him being a veteran in the Marine Corps. So I know he hasn't been involved before, but he's aware of the board's time commitment and is available on its regular day. So I don't know what is.
How did you know he's a veteran? Oh, there it is.
He said it down at the bottom.
My feeling is anybody that spent 22 years in the Marine Corps
I was thinking that.
is pretty
22
much...
years his career.
Yeah, that's a career, and he probably wasn't in the career as just, probably someone with responsibility and so forth. So I'm thinking that, now that they've obviously maybe have retired, that they are now looking forward to helping their fellow veterans and being involved. So I have no problem with that. My thing that I would look for somebody that was serving on this is that they do or have served in the military. So,
well, I can appreciate that and agree with that as well. I think I'll bring that up in the discussion after. But in terms of looking at Brian as a candidate, is there any further discussion?
I think so.
Okay. Seeing that there's no more discussion,
I'll make a motion to accept Brian Dupuy to the Veterans Council.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded, so I'd like to call a vote.
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
There being none.
Seeing no discussion, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
And against? And abstentions?
Unanimous. Awesome.
Okay, so
Do we have any new business?
Yes, I had some time, maybe too much time on my hands today, so I started doing some other things for the appointment subcommittee. I mean, I think is this supposed to be a paragraph? Because obviously I have gotten carried away here, but I mean, you can take I literally listed all the boards and committees, so we could take all those out, and that would be a big chunk of it. But and I did get some clarification because I was actually a little confused too. I knew we do boards and committees, but we all do even city departments, either the department head or the department head body. Like for instance, we don't appoint Joe Pip as the head of DPW, but we do appoint the Board of Public Works, which is his boss. And just like we appoint the Board of Public Health, but we don't appoint Jackie as the public health agent. So some instances, like we appoint Melissa, or we'll appoint some other department heads. We don't appoint their underlings, but just the department heads. In some instances, the department head is a body, like the Board of Public Works or Department of Health. And then there are a few instances where contractually, like we don't appoint the chief of police or the fire chief because they're contractual. So I guess I could increase that so it's not just boards and committees, it's also city department heads or department head bodies where that's appropriate. And then I added a little bit, the second paragraph just about our role of being the primary appointers of the city clerk, auditor, and principal assessor, and then we, in combination with the health, with the HR department, we schedule interviews, and then we pick the one person to move it forward. Is that correct? With obviously if of the city council's approval, and then because of last time I said, then also if there's disciplinary actions, we would also schedule those.
disciplinary actions for
Our three appointed.
oh
Yeah, just for those.
just for the okay.
Just for those, right?
One of the I'm just asking this for clarification, not because I'm challenging the way that things are going, but I just when does appointments get involved in that process? Because Karen right now is inviting me to come to the interviews, and my role in that interview would be as just listening, or would I be having?
You will be asked. When I was invited, when she was doing the auditor. No, not the auditor. That was our appointment. When she hired, HR.
Oh, Jane, right.
Yeah, when she hired Jane. She invited me in and in the interviews and asked me if I would want to ask some of the questions to all of the candidates for all of the interviews. And she took my input at the end of all the interviews. And it was a very nice, seamless thing, because then when I came before the appointment subcommittee, I was able to say, and to the full council be able to say, well, I was involved in the interview process, and ultimately, I agree with the mayor that, and I had some input, which is nice. She doesn't have to do that.
Right.
She doesn't have to do that, but she does it because she's so collaborative. Right. And she also knows that eventually whoever it is, depending on whoever they are, needs to come in front of us for the appointment, or the, the initial appointment. What position is this for?
It's just, I don't even know. She just told me, I've set up an appointment with a candidate.
Okay.
And so before going to that appointment, I didn't want to be, I wanted to have a good understanding of what my role there was.
They'll give you the questions. They've already got the questions made up, and then they'll go in order. Like, we'll start with this, you ask this one, and then they'll switch it around. Like, we'll start with Jane with number 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can do 3, 4, or 4, 5, 6, and then the mayor will do da-da-da. And usually Melissa is there, depending on whoever it is that you're interviewing. But they split up the questions, and then the next candidate, they'll say, okay, so now you start with 1, 2, 3, and then we'll go down around so that everybody's asking a different question. And because even sometimes the way that you ask a question is a little bit different from somebody else. And
right.
So,
right.
Yeah, so I think she doesn't have to, but I think it makes the transition smoother because ultimately it will have to come by this body, and if you already have a familiarity with this person or other people who applied, then I think that makes it more likely that appointment will be successful. If unfortunately we rarely have multiple people applying for the same volunteer position, but I could see instances where if it was a minor position and they got 2 applicants, then I think it may be Karen would go through there, I think candidate B is first, and that would be the person she would put forward. And then we would evaluate that person and see if we want to put that person forward. But I think in these more major positions, she likes to include appointments.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll probably see the invitation coming too if she has to do a department head or something like that.
For one of the remaining questions that I have with the boards and with the mayor is how do they systematically give information that the mayor would use for the purpose of the city, and is there any obligation for that communication to be open? Not because I'm demanding that to be happening, I'm just really curious to know whether or not, so if with Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership, is the mayor's leadership style to say, I've chosen these people, and if you have questions about this, go to them? Or would they have to tell Karen, okay, this is what's going on here? I'm
thinking that probably the communication goes both ways. So if something comes up and Karen has a question, she usually, I would imagine she would call the chair of the committee and say, so I was just reviewing this. What are your thoughts? What's the committee's thoughts? What's the board's thoughts on this certain thing? And
because I was considering that even just when we were talking last week with the retirement board and the level of expertise someone who was serving on that board would have to have, and which of these boards are more of a volunteer basis that is something a little extra versus this is an intricate part of the city and the people.
Yeah, and there's also some boards that we have absolutely nothing to do with, and the retirement board, unfortunately, is one of those. They I think three of the members are elected by the union body.
Two of them. And that board, then they pick up someone.
Then they pick someone, right. And then the mayor,
treasurer, or there's a city person who's automatically.
Yeah. So and that's state law. And then you've got the Board of Public Works, which once we make the appointment, they're autonomous. From us. They make all of the decisions on water, sewer, roads, chapter money, all of it.
And who their director will be.
And then their director of water, sewer, and all of that. And then the third one is Park and Rec. They're autonomous from us in a lot of ways. Once we appoint to their board, they are kind of autonomous, the cemetery and Park and Rec, from the rest of us, I think. Yeah. To some extent, I do.
They are a board and committee, which means we must appoint.
We appoint their board, and
do
then
they pick John? they pick their head.
Yeah, with the mayor.
Right.
But I think like they have control over their budget, the monies, how they use it, things like that. And that's all set up by the Mass General laws. I'm just trying to think of some other boards that well, obviously the school department obviously is,
Right.
they're autonomous from us, except for us just giving them their lump sum and that's it.
So has it ever been that the mayor has decided that the mayor wants to have a new board or commission, or does that always come from the city council in our history?
No, never.
Which one?
If the mayor wanted to replace the whole board when their renewal comes up, he could do that.
Oh no, I mean a brand new board, like we've never had this one.
No, I don't know. Well, the ECA.
Yeah, I was just going to say
that's new.
ECA.
But
That's a committee. I mean, they can certainly create new committees, but right?
Yeah, but I don't think the only new one is the cultural counselor, because we didn't have that in the beginning.
Right.
The
So yeah, we
ECA
do
and
sometimes
ECA
create.
Plus.
They do create.
So that was created, and that was through the mayor. That was through Michael, the Mayor Tausnig, that I think implemented that initially.
Okay, so some of them are dictated by the state that.
Yeah, some Mass General law dictates that you have to have certain boards and committees for certain things.
Like licensing board probably would be a good example.
Licensing board is another one, yeah. The health board is another one that's autonomous. Like you said, we appoint the board members, but we have no appointment authority over Mass General law and what their responsibilities are. So.
Okay. I have a couple other questions. Is there any term, I know it's a 3-year term, but is there any limitation as to how many years someone can remain on it? Like, they renew it every few years, but if someone wanted to be on it for 60 years, there's no language
term
that says
limit.
that.
No.
Okay.
We have in the past altered the term. Like if we thought there was someone appointed that might be a little contentious, and we were kind of hesitant about whether the person, we have changed it from 3 years to 1 year to be renewal. So we've done things like that, but I've never seen a term limit.
We've made it less, just to like a trial period type of thing in some circumstances, but we've never. The way I look at it is, if people want to come forward and serve on these boards and committees, and they're so passionate that they want to do that, they're not getting paid anything for this, and kudos to them. Welcome aboard. But looking at our next appointments, I see that Tricia Rogers is on for the Board of Health. We may want to have an early meeting and have her come in and talk to us, because that Board of Health is a very important
it's a big one.
position. That's one of our bigger ones that might be the whole, why don't you come on in and talk to us? Let's have the conversation as to why you want to sit on the board and what you think you might bring to it, and invite the other health board members to it, so that they can kind of vet it out a little bit, because we really have to have them working together well.
Right.
It's a very important board.
Okay.
That's one of the ones we have had some controversy on in the past.
I wonder if they're going to be a hostile group to something.
Let's not hope so. Let's hope not. We don't want hostility. We want everybody to get along.
So that's a good point. Joy may want to make that next appointment for like 5, see if that person can come here, and then let the other counselors aware that we're going to be talking to the applicant for the Board of Health.
Okay. If I say, I don't know.
I mean, her finger is awesome. And if she's who I think she is, then I think I know her. But
Well, thank you for typing up.
Yeah, Joe. So, do you want us to get back to you on any of it, or
On
do you
this?
just yeah?
Let me do. I mean, it needs to be. Do we all agree it needs to be shorter?
I think so.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll just pull out that whole paragraph. I'll send it to you electronically. I'll pull out that
Okay.
whole paragraph of listing it, and then I'm just going to put in a sentence that we also approve city department heads or department head bodies where it's applicable. And then,
I think it would be, I would love to be able to put some language in there about the difference between volunteer positions and paid positions, because I just want to make sure that when someone is going for a subcommittee position, that they can see whether or not it's going to be paid just on the basis of what they're seeing. And if it comes to us,
The only paid positions would be school committee, city council, and now the retirement.
but I think there's...
no, I mean, for instance, we theoretically approve department heads, so we'll approve Jess Allen as paid. So
Right.
we will approve paid positions. The mayor kind of puts them forward as renewals,
Right.
But so, what was your point? How you wanted to?
I just think there's a different level of scrutiny between a volunteer position versus a paid position. And I'm just wondering if do we want to put any detail in there about how we would treat those two differently at all, or not? I'm just opening that up for discussion. Do we want it to be listed that we, do the same vetting process for every applicant, regardless of whether or not it's a volunteer or a paid position? Or would we have a different... I have not yet been in a position where I've had to really review someone in a paid position, so I know that there is a slightly more in-depth process in terms of our discussions and everything, but is that just a given and it doesn't need to be in the actual paragraph?
I mean, first, obviously, the city clerk, the principal assessors, those were full interview processes when there was a new application opening. I don't want to give someone the feeling that we take your volunteer less
Right.
less seriously than someone else. But the reality is, I probably am going to ask more questions of someone who's potentially going to be the principal assessor versus someone who's going to be a member on ECA Plus,
Right.
But I don't know if but yet again, I don't know if we need to say.
Yeah, and there are boards that are very important, and there's boards that are less than. And I'm not going to say that minimizing them, but a lot more people serving on them. So.
And I also think some boards serve functions that allow the city to run, and some boards serve the function of making our city a unique city by adding extra elements to it.
There you go.
So
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So I would love to just be able to let this marinate in my brain for a little bit.
Yeah.
What you wrote down.
No, and I want to change it. I'll send it to you electronically, and then we can. Again, I don't know when there's a deadline for these. I think it was like the beginning of March. So we have time.
Yeah. Well, thank you for starting it.
Yeah. No, I had my dragon speaking.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. So moved. Are we all in favor?
Yes.